Farouk here with genConnect.com, and we're joined today by General Amos Yadlin, the director of the Institute for National Security Studies at Tel Aviv University and the former chief of Israeli Intelligence. How are you, sir?
It's wonderful to be here in Aspen.
Couldn't be better, right?
Yeah, a little bit cooler.
Fair. Well, I'll put in a request.
Okay.
I must ask you, you were at the highest ranks of the Israeli military, and clearly you had very strong leadership foundations to be in that position. What were the general leadership principles that you developed while in that position that we could really apply more generally?
Yeah, you must have a vision. You must know where you want to take your organization, how you're going to achieve your goals. And this is based on have the right strategy at the level of the generals, but in the same time get into the details of what the people who are really doing the job doing. If you will be here all day, you're done. You can't do it. So you better stay in the strategy and vision level, but having the capability to go down, do some sampling, do some inspection here and there, that your people will know that you know what you are doing. You have to create a culture of learning. I'm coming from the Israeli Air Force. One of the most important merit is that they are debriefing every day, 1 or 2 sorties. So the tempo of learning is not of a 1-year debriefing of a company or university. It's a daily cycle of debriefing. Last but not least, let the young lieutenant, the young privates even, the right to raise their hand and say, you are the leaders, you are going to the wrong direction. And treat their criticism with a lot of willingness to learn.
You mentioned vision. Is that something that can be developed, or does it just need to be innate?
Sometime it's come from you, but many time, much more time, it's come from them. So in every position that I took over, I had my preliminary vision, but I always presented it to the people in a workshop. Can take 2 days, can take a week, and got all their brain into my brain.
Feedback.
And it's not only the feedback, it's their innovations, their way of looking at things, and the fact that they may know something that I already haven't learned because I'm 30 years older than them. And together you create the vision. It will make sure that it's not a vision that you put to them as, from up down, from top down. It's a vision that they created, so they have some partnership in it. They have some interest in it. And it's come bottom up.
Out in the field, during some of the most dangerous situations that you found yourself in, how did you conquer fear?
Everybody is afraid. Nobody wants to be shot and dead. The real difference between those who can function when they fear and those who cannot function is whether the fear take your level of performance only 5%, then training at the maximum 10%. Those who fear paralyze them or take their performance below 50%, they will never be a good fighter pilot, a good leaders. And if you know how to exercise, I'm going there, I may be killed, I have a 1-year-old baby back home, but still I'm concentrated on the job. I know that if I'm good enough, it will not happen to me. And you overcome the fear, even though don't believe anybody who will tell you, I went there under fire, the bullets were here, and I didn't care. Of course you care, but you function.
But what's at the root of conquering that fear? Is it just talking yourself through it and saying, I'll be okay and I'm going to do this and I'm going? Or is there something deeper?
It's based on 2 important issues. First, that this is something that if something will happen, it's worth, it's a value, it's an objective that worth your life. Otherwise, don't even go, even the chances are very low. Second, that during the training, you convince yourself that you are a good fighter pilot. You can avoid the missiles from the ground. You can find your enemy and kill it before he will kill you. So based on a very robust and long time training.
What's the biggest threat facing Israel right now?
I think the biggest threat is Iran. Israel faces a lot of threat. Terror from the Palestinians, a civil war in Syria that can trickle down to Israel, chemical weapon, Hezbollah, but we can handle it. Israel is a strong country with a very good military, wonderful soldiers, wonderful commanders, very good on technology. So we can handle our very tough neighborhood. We are like a villa in the jungle.
Yeah.
And the jungle full of enemies, full of animals that want to destroy us. We can handle them. Iran is another story because Iran is the most extreme radical regime that call in the open to erase Israel off the map, destroy Israel. And on the other hand, unlike the other peoples that we can cope with, if they will have a nuclear weapons, it's a marriage of a very radical regime with a very radical weapon. This is the main threat, and it is our goal and our objective not to let Iran become nuclear.
So how do we do it? What's the solution?
Young man, there is no always a silver bullet.
Yeah.
Life are more complicated than that. There are like 5 strategies to stop Iran, and they are not mutually exclusive. One is to reach an agreement, engagement with Iran. Second is tough sanctions that will make sure that they will come and make an agreement. Then there are a lot of stories about shadow war, some covert operation, cyber operation. They try to stop. There is a possibility for regime change, so you can help regime change. Because if a nuclear weapon will be in the hand of people who are not radical, you and me can sleep quite well when India has a nuclear weapon. They don't want to destroy any country, and it's a democratic country. Last but not least is military intervention. So all 5 of them should be employed towards stopping Iran. Unfortunately today, what we see is that engagement haven't worked. Obama tried to engage the Iranians from 2009, they refused. The European engaged them in the last decade. Negotiations brought nowhere, just bought time for Iran. And the regime change is not there yet, even though I'm not out of hope. Covert operation haven't stopped them, only delayed them. So it seems like towards the end of the year, some leaders in your country and my country will have to take tough decisions.
General Yadlin, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I received an advice from a friend that as you go up and you become general and you become head of intelligence organization, which basically is allowed to do, as you saw last week, NSA is allowed to do things that were not considered legal in your country. But when you are in intelligence, you are allowed to do a lot to the enemy, to collect information, sometimes to have an operation. So the best advice, don't think that you are above the law. Don't think that if you were so successful in many operations that it will be forever. Always be slightly paranoid that maybe you are going to fail the next operation. So try as it is the first one, even though if you have a backlog of hundreds of successful operations.
General Yadlin, thank you so much. And for more with General Amos Yadlin, be sure to check out genConnect.com.